Have you ever brushed off a strange headache, a sudden wave of dizziness, or a moment when your words just wouldn't come out right, thinking it was nothing serious? What if I told you those small moments could be your brain's desperate cry for help, and ignoring them could cost you everything every 40 seconds in the United States? Someone suffers a stroke, and here's the chilling truth: nearly half of them had clear warning signs in the weeks before, but they dismissed them as stress, fatigue, or just getting older. I'm Dr. Edward Blake, and today I want to give you the knowledge that could literally save your life. Because your body does not stay silent, it speaks. And if you learn how to listen, you can stop disaster before it strikes. In this video, we'll uncover 9 powerful early warning signs your brain may send you weeks before a stroke. Signs backed by solid medical research. Signs you cannot afford to ignore. And as you listen, remember this: the difference between tragedy and recovery often comes down to how quickly you recognize what's really happening inside your own body. Imagine waking up one morning with a headache that feels nothing like the ones you've had before. It's sharper, it lingers, and no amount of coffee, rest, or painkillers seems to touch it. Doctors call this the sentinel headache, a sudden, unusual, and relentless pain that often shows up in the days or even weeks before a stroke. And here's the part that sends shivers down my spine. A landmark study in the Journal of Headache and Pain found that nearly 15% of stroke patients experience this exact type of headache within just a week before their stroke. Unlike migraines that follow familiar patterns, a sentinel headache is unpredictable. It feels alien, almost like your brain is trying to sound an alarm you've never heard before. It may start out mild, but it builds, and it doesn't back down. And here's the heartbreaking truth: most people brush it off. They blame stress, bad sleep, or dehydration. They wait, hoping it will pass. But what's really happening is that blood flow inside the brain is being disrupted, and your body is begging you not to ignore it. If you ever feel a headache that's brand new, unusually severe, and refuses to fade, don't chalk it up to stress. It could be your first and only warning before disaster strikes. But just knowing this isn't enough, because the brain doesn't rely on one warning sign alone. It has another way of rehearsing the stroke before the main event, and that one is even more dangerous. Now imagine this: you're pouring your morning coffee when suddenly your arm feels weak, your face droops in the mirror, or your words come out slurred and broken. Your heart races in panic only for the symptoms to vanish minutes later, as if nothing ever happened. Most people breathe a sigh of relief and think, "It passed. I'm fine." But that moment is not fine. It's terrifying. Because what you just experienced may be a transient ischemic attack, or TIA, a mini stroke, and one of the brain's most urgent dress rehearsals before the real event. Here's what science shows according to the American Heart Association. Nearly 43% of patients who suffer a major stroke had experienced a TIA in the week before it happened. That's not a coincidence. It's a flashing red siren. During a TIA, blood flow to a part of the brain is temporarily blocked. The blockage clears quickly, so the symptoms fade. But don't be fooled by the temporary nature. Your brain is giving you a preview of what's coming if you don't act. Ignoring a TIA is like ignoring smoke pouring out of your house and waiting until the fire breaks through the walls. Doctors urge, if you ever experience sudden weakness, numbness, vision changes, or slurred speech that disappears within minutes or hours, treat it as a full-blown emergency. Because next time, it won't fade. And here's the sobering twist. Not all early warnings look so dramatic. Some creep in quietly, showing up as something you might mistake for inner ear trouble or even just aging. But in reality, it's another sign your brain's blood supply is already under siege. Picture yourself walking through the grocery store. Suddenly, the ground feels unsteady, the aisles seem to sway, and you grab the cart just to keep from falling. A few seconds later, it eases, and you convince yourself it was dehydration or maybe standing up too quickly. But what if it wasn't persistent dizziness or unexplained balance problems can be your brain whispering that blood flow is being disrupted long before a stroke strikes. And here's the unsettling truth: research from the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute shows these symptoms often appear days or even weeks before the main event. The brain regions responsible for balance and spatial orientation are incredibly sensitive to oxygen supply. Even the smallest blockage or reduction in blood flow can throw your body's equilibrium into chaos. That's why stroke-related dizziness isn't just a passing sensation. It's your nervous system telling you something deeper is wrong. Yet most people dismiss it. They blame vertigo, ear problems, side effects from medication, or simply getting older. And in that denial, they lose their most valuable gift: time. Because once balance problems begin showing up consistently, it means the blood supply to your brain is already unstable. So if you experience repeated dizzy spells, unexplained loss of balance, or unsteadiness that feels new and out of character, don't ignore it. It's not always your ears. It might be your brain's alarm clock, ticking down to something worse. But dizziness isn't the only sense that reveals trouble brewing. Sometimes it's not how steady you walk, but how clearly you see the world. And when your vision starts to betray you, the danger becomes even harder to overlook. You're reading a book, and suddenly the words blur. Or maybe you're driving, and the road seems doubled. Distances feel distorted, or a patch of your vision fades as if someone dimmed part of the screen. It clears up after a moment, so you shrug it off, thinking you just need more rest or stronger glasses. But your eyes aren't always the problem. Sometimes they're perfectly healthy, yet your brain is struggling to process what they see. That's why sudden vision changes are one of the most overlooked, yet most powerful warnings of an impending stroke. The occipital lobe, tucked in the back of your brain, handles how you see the world, and it depends on steady blood flow. When arteries that feed this region start narrowing or clogging, your vision is often the first casualty. Medical research confirms that blurred vision, double vision, flashing lights, or even brief blind spots can appear days or weeks before a stroke. The danger here is how deceptive these episodes are. They come and go. They feel harmless, so people dismiss them as eye strain or too much screen time. But in truth, your brain is flashing urgent warning signals, begging you to notice. If your vision suddenly shifts, distorts, or disappears even for a moment, don't ignore it. It might not be your glasses. It might be your brain running out of time. And here's the chilling part. When blood flow begins to choke the areas that control your speech, the very core of how you connect with others, the warning sign becomes impossible to miss. But by then, most people have already waited too long. You're in the middle of a conversation when suddenly the words don't come out the way you expect. Your tongue feels heavy. Your sentences slur, or you search for the simplest word and it just vanishes from your mind. You laugh it off, maybe even joke that you're tired. But what if it's not fatigue? What if it's your brain failing to communicate with itself? Because when your speech falters without reason, that's not a quirk, it's a red flag. Here's what the science tells us. Speech and language rely on intricate networks in your brain, especially areas like Broca's and Wernicke's regions. These centers demand a constant supply of oxygen-rich blood. When that supply falters, even briefly, your ability to speak clearly or understand language can break down. Peer-reviewed neurological studies confirm that slurred speech, word-finding problems, or trouble understanding others often appear days or weeks before a major stroke. Think about it. Your voice is your identity. When it suddenly betrays you, your brain is showing cracks in its foundation, and those cracks widen fast if ignored. That's why every neurologist urges don't wait. If your words stumble, if your sentences collapse, if your speech feels foreign even to you, treat it as urgent, because the next time, it may not come back. And here's the sobering truth. When speech changes are joined by weakness or numbness on one side of your body, the warning becomes deafening. It's not just language slipping away, it's control of your own body. You reach for your morning coffee, and the cup slips from your hand. Or maybe you climb the stairs, and one leg suddenly feels heavier, slower, weaker than the other. It happens fast, then fades, so you brush it off. Maybe you slept wrong. Maybe it's just fatigue, but weakness or numbness on one side of the body is not random. It's one of the most classic, most urgent early signs that a stroke is approaching. Doctors call it hemiparesis, and it means that blood flow to the motor and sensory regions of your brain is being disrupted. The result, muscles lose their strength, and sensations start to fade. What's chilling is how subtle it can begin. A weaker grip on one side, a tingling in your face or arm, a strange heaviness in your leg. Small clues that many people dismiss until it's too late. Research shows that these one-sided symptoms can appear days or even weeks before a major stroke. And once they start, they often grow worse as blood flow becomes more unstable. Your brain doesn't just whisper here, it's practically shouting for you to take action. If you notice repeated weakness, numbness, or tingling that affects the same side of your body, don't wait for it to pass. Get help immediately, because every minute of delay can mean more brain cells lost, more function stolen, and less chance of recovery. But weakness is only one form of exhaustion your brain reveals. Sometimes the warning doesn't come as a limp or a numb arm, it comes as a crushing fatigue so deep. No amount of rest seems to fix it, and that sign is often ignored until it's too late. You wake up after a full night's sleep, but instead of feeling refreshed, it feels like you've run a marathon in your dreams. Every step is heavy, every task feels overwhelming, and no amount of coffee or rest seems to bring your energy back. We live in a culture where exhaustion is normalized, but when the fatigue is crushing, unexplained, and persistent, it could be something far more dangerous than just being busy or stressed. Doctors have found that in the weeks leading up to a stroke, many patients report a strange, unshakable exhaustion. This isn't the usual tiredness from work or a late night. It's the kind that doesn't get better with rest. In fact, studies show your brain, an organ that consumes about 20% of your body's energy, starts struggling to fuel itself properly when blood flow is compromised. And the result is deep, unrelenting fatigue. People often mistake this symptom for aging, seasonal changes, or simple stress. But what's happening behind the scenes is more alarming. Your brain is fighting to function with limited oxygen, and it's burning through its reserves. That's why this exhaustion is often paired with brain fog, difficulty focusing, or even mild confusion. If you find yourself unusually drained, losing motivation, or unable to bounce back despite rest, don't just push through it. Persistent, unexplained exhaustion can be your brain's way of begging you to act before it's too late. But here's the surprising twist. Sometimes the warning isn't about how you feel inside, but about what you hear. Because in some cases, stroke doesn't steal your energy first, it steals your hearing. You wake up one morning and notice something strange. The world sounds muffled, as if someone has stuffed cotton into one ear. Voices are unclear, everyday noises fade, and no matter how much you rub or adjust, the hearing doesn't come back. Most people think it's earwax, allergies, or maybe just part of aging. But doctors have uncovered a far more chilling truth. Sudden hearing loss, especially when it strikes in just one ear, can be an early red flag of stroke, particularly in the arteries that supply the back of your brain. Studies published in PubMed Central reveal that people who experience sudden sensorineural hearing loss, known as SSNHL, face a significantly higher risk of stroke in the following days or weeks. And when hearing loss is paired with vertigo or dizziness, the danger skyrockets. That's because the inner ear and the balance centers of your brain share the same fragile blood supply. When circulation falters, both hearing and equilibrium begin to fail. Unlike the gradual hearing changes that come with age or noise exposure, SSNHL is abrupt. It may happen overnight or within hours, and it's often brushed aside as something minor until the stroke arrives. So if your hearing suddenly fades, especially in one ear, don't wait for it to return on its own. Seek urgent medical care, because your brain might be using your ears as the loudest alarm of all, and yet not every warning is so clear-cut. Sometimes the brain sends signals that seem random, confusing, or completely unrelated until you realize they're all part of the same deadly pattern. Sometimes the brain doesn't play by the rules. Instead of a clear headache or slurred speech, the warnings arrive in strange, unsettling ways that don't seem connected at all. You might suddenly feel confused, unable to process a simple conversation, or you may experience a brief seizure, waves of unexplained nausea, or even moments of blacking out without warning. Some people report tingling sensations in random parts of their body, like pins and needles that appear and vanish for no reason. On their own, these symptoms seem scattered, but together, they can form a disturbing picture of blood flow to the brain being repeatedly disrupted. Medical research from the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute confirms that these atypical neurological signs often appear hours to weeks before a major stroke. The danger is in how easy they are to dismiss. Confusion must be stress. Nausea, probably something you ate. Tingling, maybe you slept wrong. But when these warnings cluster, they reveal that your brain is fighting to stay alive under mounting pressure. Think of it like a puzzle. No single piece tells the full story. But when you connect them, the image becomes undeniable. And ignoring that picture could cost you the chance to prevent catastrophe. So if your brain begins behaving in ways that feel foreign, whether through confusion, sudden illness, or unexplained episodes, take it seriously. It could be your final warning before the stroke itself strikes. And that brings us here to the most important message of all. Because now that you've heard the 9 warning signs, the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? You've just given yourself one of the most powerful gifts, knowledge. And remember, knowledge is only valuable when it's used. If you notice any of these warning signs, don't ignore them. Listen to your body, trust your instincts, and seek help right away. Taking action early can mean the difference between recovery and tragedy. If you found this video helpful, save it so you can return whenever you need a reminder. And please subscribe to our channel for the latest trusted medical insights about heart health and overall wellness. We're here to stand with you every step of your journey, so you never have to face these challenges alone. Most importantly, hold on to hope. Protecting your heart and your health isn't about fear, it's about empowerment. With the right knowledge, the right choices, and a supportive community, you can live stronger, healthier, and longer. Stay safe, stay encouraged, and know that we're always here to guide you toward a healthier